Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to my first ever radio Q&A. Bit of a story about how this came about. So I've wanted to do a Q&A for ages, but I was just convinced if I put one of those question boxes on Instagram and asked people to ask me questions, I just thought I would get crickets and no one would ask me anything. So I thought I'd cover my own back, and I put out my first ever question box and said, I'll answer a few questions in a day in the life of a radio presenter. So then if I get like 3 questions, there would be no pressure. But I actually got like loads of questions. Really boosted my self-esteem, not gonna lie. So yeah, I have enough questions to fill a full video just answering them. So that's what we're doing today. So starting it off with 100% the most popular question, and that was, how did you get a job at Q? How did you get your show? How did you get your show on Q Radio? So I have a full story time video on this. I'll link it down below if you want to watch it in depth. But basically I've been doing work experiences at lots of different Northern Irish stations because I was thinking, my way of thinking anyway, was if I can make contacts and get to know people within stations, then if there's ever a station shake up and there's, you know, a show going or they need cover or whatever, they'll already know who I am. So it might be a wee bit easier to be in the know as to when these things are going and when to get your demo in and things like that. One station that I had not managed to get a foot in the door in was actually Q Radio. And then this isn't the shortened version at all actually, but I'm going to tell you anyway because it's quite funny. So I was at my friend's wedding over in Portugal. The lovely Q Radio drive time presenter Abe Sese, he was actually DJing at that. Do you know what it was like? You know, if you're on a night out and there's just someone standing at the bar and you're like, I want to go up and talk to you. It wasn't like that at all because I didn't want to date. I wanted a job, but it was kind of like that because I was assessing the situation and thinking, right, like, how do I make my move here? So anyway, I got chatting to Abe and he was so lovely. We talked all the radio stuff and he said, of course you can come in for work experience. He helped me get work experience within the news department too because, you know, it was kind of a case of any way I could get my foot in the door, whether that should be sitting in on shows, doing news stuff. I would have swept the floor just to be in there. But anyway, yeah, I'd kind of made a few contacts in Q, and then when there was a station shake up, Abe remembered me and he knew how much I wanted this. So he sent me a message and was like, this is the time to get your demo in. Strangely enough though, my friend Danny, who I did student radio with over in England, he had sent me a message the day before. He'd seen in some Facebook group that Q were looking for female presenters. So I was already working on my demo. Our station manager at the time had been put in contact with me, so he rang me as I was working on this demo. It was all really weird. But yeah, I went in for a meeting, did the demo, and I have been there ever since, and I'm so grateful every single day. So lots of questions here asking, how do I get into the radio scene? Any advice for breaking into the industry? Things like that. So obviously with radio, there's such an element of right place, right time. I mean, look at that situation with me and Abe. He is DJing at a random wedding in Portugal. I happened to be there, and that led to my forever job. Very random. Having said that though, I am a big believer in you can help to create your own luck in this world, and you can increase your chances of being in the right place at the right time. So in terms of breaking into the industry, I would say just get your foot in the door any way that you can. So if you're contacting stations and wanting to make connections, first of all, it's a case of getting into the building. So any way that you can be useful to them. See if they need help in news. Do they need help editing packages? You know, would it be possible for you to shadow a show? Do they need any tech ops? Any way that you can get in there to meet people. And then once you are in there, make it really known that presenting or whatever it is within radio is what you want to do. And also, like, if you do manage to get a foot in the door, like, keep in contact with people and show how enthusiastic you are. And then it could be a situation like mine where when something comes up, they remember how enthusiastic you were and you're kind of in the know. The other element of that obviously is getting the foot in the door in the first place. Like, I know it's all well and good me sitting here saying get your work experience or get your foot in the door, but I know, like, you see that when you ring or email a station and you are trying to get in, or you're trying to get a placement and your emails are just getting ignored, I know that that can be so soul destroying, and it's quite awkward and you feel like you're a nuisance, because I have been there and I've done that. But you know, even pre-Q, I have managed to get into stations, and I've done that through persevering. So I know everyone hates lifting the phone, but like one of my first placements that I did was I actually went into Cool FM to do news, and then that ended up with me going and sitting in on some shows, on the mid-morning show and things like that. But I'd sent a few emails to news, didn't hear anything, and then I lifted the phone and I rang, and everyone hates ringing places, but it's much more difficult to turn someone down whenever they're on the other end of the phone to you versus, you know, from behind a screen. It's very easy to ignore an email. So hello, it's Victoria from the future, just as I edit this, talking about catfish versus reality. But I just wanted to put a disclaimer, that advice, like, obviously I'm just going based off like how I got into the industry. It is by no means the only way to get in. I know people that got in through the DJing route, people that were reached out to by stations that had nothing to do with radio before, people whose social media played into it, people that didn't really have connections and they just cold call, sent a demo, and that worked. So there's so many different ways, but this is just me giving advice based on what worked for me. Even though you might not want to, I would recommend ringing. And if you are going the email route, or like reaching out to even presenters on social media, you know, like I've listened to people's demos and give them feedback and gave people advice through my Instagram and stuff, advice on breaking into the industry. Some people, you know, they're just too busy, or, you know, maybe that's not their type of thing, but like I'll always help someone if I see they're really passionate about someone, if I can, because I've been there. I feel like I've rambled, but yeah, I hope that answers that question. My wee mum, bless her, she was at the bank earlier. I asked her if she'd bring me home a wee iced coffee, because I think when you get a takeaway coffee, it just hits a wee bit different than when you make it home. Do you know what I mean? And it just makes me go bzz that wee bit more. Anyway, everywhere was closed, so she went the whole way through town and finally got me a Bob and Birds, right? After all this drama, gets home, sets it on the step to open the back door. The dog just knocks my wee coffee flying. So by the time I get it, there's like this much left, and mum's near crying. That's dramatic, she wasn't near crying, but she was like, for flip's sake, after all that. But yeah, Josie Quinn, what a woman. Anyway, questions, any advice on doing good radio demos? I have a full video on this, and there's a lot in it, so I will link that down below. Do you still get nervous doing the shows? Ask any Q radio presenter that's been around me when I've been doing my shows. Yes. I think it's just, I've wanted it for so long, and I take my job so seriously because I love it so much. I always want to do the absolute best job, like anytime I'm on air. So then I put so much pressure on myself, and I think I make myself nervous. Now, once I ease into a show, like there's always that wee kind of jittery butterfly of nerves, but I am fine. But yeah, before my first link of the night, like Connor, who does the show before me, he'll be able to tell you, we kind of have a wee chat when the news is on, and then he just knows I don't really like anyone in the studio when I'm doing my show. Obviously if I was co-hosting and I was chatting to someone, like I'd be 100% fine with that, but yeah, like when someone else has just stood there when I'm doing my show, I don't like it. It makes me even more nervous, so he just always knows to leave. But I love it so much. I know of people that have been in the industry for 40 years and they still get nervous, and I know of people that have been in the industry for not that long, and there's obviously still an element of nerves, but they are so chilled. But yes, I do still get nervous. This is an interesting one. So, best and worst thing about being a radio presenter. Oh, you see, like trying to ask me to say just what, like my best thing about working in radio, I can't just pick one. As I'm sure you can probably tell from this video right up till now, I adore my job so much. I love like when someone's had a bad night or a bad day, and they send you a message saying, you know, that link you did, or that song you played, or just giving them a wee shout out, like it's made their day. It might only be one person, but I have had the power to make one other person feel happy, and that makes me feel so happy. Or you know, like even just the presenters at Q, I love them all. Like radio people in general are very good crack, I think, but I just, you know, it is kind of like a wee family vibe, and everyone is so nice. Or I love that I'm in the studio and I'm interacting with people, but at the same time, like they're at home listening, there's not like people fully in my face in work every single day, because I'm actually I come across so extroverted, I think, on camera or even in real life. I am for short bursts of time, but I get drained when I'm around people all the time. So I love that, or I love that, you know, I'm not really seen, so I don't have to wear makeup all the time, or being around music. There's just, oh, so many things. I love it. And I love, like, just even the presenting element of it, you know, even though I get nervous on that countdown to speaking on air, I'm like, I'm getting excited. And yeah, and then things that I feel bad even saying worse things, because the good parts of my job, like, there are so many, these don't like even really factor into it. But probably, you know, with any job, I feel like if you have a bad day, you can kind of just go into work and maybe have a day where you lay low and you hide a little bit. Obviously, if you're going on air, you can't really. You have to put it out of the bag even when you're having a bad day. And I feel like if you're maybe on a radio show, on a breakfast show, and you're co-presenting, you can kind of be like, oh, well, I'm having a bad day because this happened. But on my show, that I just know, like, if I went on air and it was like a serious reason as to why I was having a bad day, I don't think it would translate very well if I went on air and started talking about it. So yeah, I struggle with that sometimes, but it's like any job, like, you are going to have bad days, and because I love what I'm doing so much, it rarely happens. The other thing, which I don't know if it'll ever not annoy me, I hate the fact that I got into radio because I love everything about it, those reasons that I previously mentioned, but there's this weird thing that because you're doing this specific job, all of a sudden you're up for public scrutiny, and people feel like they can just send you a message saying, you know what, I don't like this and this about you, or I don't like the way you did that show, or they can make social media content being nasty about you. And just because someone's on the radio, they don't become a robot. Like, I don't cease to have feelings and things like that. They've not happened very much, but the times that they have, like, I see them, and just because I'm in a certain job doesn't mean that it doesn't get to me. And it really irritates me too, because the people that do these things, firstly, they would you would never go up to someone in real life and say those things to their face. Never. But because you're hiding behind a screen, off you go, big man. And there's not really much that you can do. You just kind of have to take it on the chin and be like, well, yeah, because if I slandered back to these people, it would probably end up going to, like, Belfast Telegraph, and, you know, there would be a lovely wee write-up on all the nasty things I said back to this person. So that's that. But both of those things, like, they barely happen, and I love so many things about my job. I feel like I can't really complain. So yeah. Do you wish your show was in the daytime? I get asked this all the time in real life as well, and I am not just saying it. I love that my show is at the time of the night. Obviously, you know, I'd love to eventually work my way kind of up through the schedule, particularly when I'm older and I have kids and stuff. Like, it probably wouldn't be ideal me being out every night and then coming home at 2 a.m. and probably having to get up to do bottle feeds and nappies and all that. But for now, the time suits me perfectly. It gives me my whole day free. I can lie in the next morning because I'm still living at home. I don't have many other responsibilities. And I have lovers around 11 on my show, which is where the listeners get in touch and tell me all their love story drama and what's going on with them. And I just love the chat and I love it. So in the future, yeah, like, I'd love to work my way up the schedule. My end goal is to do breakfast radio, but right now this suits me absolutely perfectly and I love it. What show do you think you will be doing next? I have no idea. Station managers hold an awful lot of power over your life and your dream shows, etc. So I don't know, they probably do, but I'm very happy where I am right now. Like, I am 24. I just turned 23 when I got my job. And, like, I have my own show on mainline radio in Northern Ireland where there's literally, like, a handful of stations. Oh, I'm so, like, yeah, I'm just so grateful to be where I am. Where do you want to go? Like, if you could choose a specific type of show or station, what would it be? Do you know what? I could pull you out, like, diary entries and, you know, like, videos of me and different things of me from a couple of years back talking about a specific station, specific show, like, dream radio job. And I'm not gonna say anything here because I don't want to jinx it, but if that ever happens, I'll pull out those and do something with them, I'll show them to the world, and I'll pull up this video as well and say it has happened. But for now, I'm very happy where I am, and I will say no more than that. Someone's asking here, how much preparation is required for a show? Do you know, this always seems to surprise people when they find out, like, yes, we do actually prep our shows. Like, do you think we can just pluck out of thin air what happened to Britney Spears today without prepping it? Or like, oh, here's a random statistic that I've just pulled out of nowhere, or here's a wee mind teaser for you, or a big detailed story that just somehow flows absolutely perfectly. Like, obviously we've bullet pointed that down and practiced it. So yeah, like our show fee kind of covers that being in for an hour beforehand to prep your show. Don't know about other stations and stuff, but yeah, I like to be in for 9ish, and then I spend roughly an hour prepping my show. And yeah, I mean, you could go in and do a show, I know some presenters do, and just fire the mic up and you do a good show, but for me, I need to be prepared. So everyone's different, I suppose. Quite a few people have asked, could they ever come and sit in the studio? They'd love to see what it's like during a live show. Do you know what? That is the proactive thinking that you need to get into the world of radio, because no one's going to come and knock on your door. You need to knock on theirs. So I like that way of thinking. However, I would probably be the worst person you could ask for this, because my show is 10 o'clock at night, so insurance probably won't cover that. Also, I would probably not be a good person to sit in with, because I'm very much like focused throughout my show, and work experiences I've done in the past, like it's been with really experienced presenters, and they'll chat to me and give me all the knowledge the full time, and then they just fire the mic up and they're so natural. I wouldn't be able to give you the attention and tell you and answer your questions properly, because half my mind would be on my show, because this is still fairly new to me. So possibly not my show, but if you contact stations, you know, about getting in for a wee bit of placement or sitting in on a show, fingers crossed they could link you with someone that's maybe a wee bit more together than me, you know. Any radio horror stories? Yes, and I'd probably write you a book. Anyone that works in radio could probably write you a book. Let me think. See that Lovers around 11, it's my favourite part of the night. I love getting all the buzz from everyone, but anything like strange or startling that happens, it always is in that hour. Like there was a man one time and he asked for a song for his girlfriend, and so I read out this romantic message that he'd sent in, played the song. No sooner was the song over, he sends this message, thanks, she loved it. And then he sent me another message and was like, however, I'd drop her in 2 seconds for you. And I was like, excuse me, good sir, do you know what? Like, this is the thing too with radio. It's the same as like when people send you a nasty message or say something about you on social media. You can't get personally involved with these people's lives or things that are happening, because it's just, it could lead to a very sticky situation. So I just ignored the message and that was that. But who does that? Or I could probably tell you loads of stories about Lovers around 11, but even, like the other week, thank goodness, Ryan, he was in recording some bits and pieces, and this was like 1:45 in the morning. The whole studio just broke. Like, not even the screen broke. Like, I mean, like the keypad where you push the buttons and stuff, no lights in it. And I hate technology, and I just wouldn't have been able to deal with that by myself. Thankfully he was there, otherwise I would have had to ring our station manager and he would have had to drive in the middle of the night the whole way to Kew to come rescue me and fix the desk. So Ryan was like under the desk like a mechanic, fully like pulling wires out, and then we had to lift like all the faders up and out of the desk. It was a whole thing. But yeah, I could probably write you a list, but I can't even think of any more off the top of my head. Okay, this video's getting long now. I've talked a lot. Wouldn't be like me. One more question. There was someone here asking, could you see yourself ever doing something else? And to that I would say I definitely, like, I want to undertake work in different areas. Like, I'd love to do like the odd wee TV feature someday, and, you know, grow my social media to, you know, kind of build it into a brand and a bit of a business as well. But radio, like, it is, and you can quote me in 20 years here, it is always going to be at the core of what I'm doing, because I love it and it brings me so much job satisfaction. And yeah, I think you can constantly evolve to be a better presenter and learn new things and climb the career ladder within this industry. So yeah, I'll definitely explore different avenues, but radio is always where it's going to be for me. So that is that video. I didn't even get through all the questions, you know, but hopefully that answers quite a bit for you and you found it interesting and didn't mind my rambling too much. As always, please like, subscribe, comment for engagement. all that good stuff. And you can let me know if you have any other video requests, and I will chat to you in the next one. Bye.